Officials say salvage operations for the dive boat that burned on Labor Day morning will resume today if weather permits. Coast Guard officials say operations had to be postponed Friday and Monday due to weather and safety concerns. But the agency added that authorities have stayed on the scene to enforce the safety zone around the site. The Conception sank following an early morning fire that claimed the lives of 34 passengers. Investigators have not yet determined a cause. Recovery crews are hoping to bring the boat to the surface today. Authorities are also reviewing records documenting safety practices that were obtained by a search warrant.
A deadly crash of a Tesla in autopilot mode last year is prompting federal safety regulators to recommend the state move faster to repair highway safety barriers. The NTSB says that state officials failed to fix a barrier before a deadly crash in March of 2018 that killed an Apple engineer out of Santa Clara County. The barrier had been damaged 11 days prior to the crash of a Tesla in autopilot mode. The federal agency said it has also identified a fatal crash from 2016 in San Jose, where a barrier remained damaged for more than 44 days. So far, the California Department of Transportation has not yet commented on this report.
Anti-vaxxers made their voices heard at the Capitol Monday after Governor Newsom signed several bills that put a stop to doctors who write fraudulent medical exemptions for children's vaccinations. Protesters reportedly blocked several driveways in the state capitol in Sacramento. A Capitol spokesperson says they also blocked entrances like the door to Governor Gavin Newsom's office. Police warned protesters they would be arrested if they did not leave. According to officers, there had been several arrests, but they have said not how many.
Today, local Congressman Kevin McCarthy is set to testify in support of local veterans issues during a Veterans Affairs Committee hearing. According to the congressman's office, he will testify in support of the local veterans outpatient clinic, among other issues that are facing our local servicemen and women. The hearing in Washington is set to begin at about 9 o'clock this morning. You can follow updates on his testimony on our social media platforms and our website, turn223.com.
Now to the Walker Fire burning up in the Plumas National Forest. Officials say the fire is the state's largest wildfire so far this year as the blaze grows to over 44,000 acres. The Walker Fire, which broke out last Wednesday, has consumed over 68 square miles in the remote mountains about 150 miles northeast of Sacramento. So far, the fire is only 10% contained. Mandatory evacuation orders are in place to several rural communities, including Antelope Lake and Ward Creek area. Evacuation orders in the Milford and Brockman Canyon communities have been lifted, but residents are being warned to be prepared to leave again. So far, no structures have been destroyed and no injuries have been reported.
With PG&E facing bankruptcy, the utility might be getting some relief from the city of San Francisco. The city has offered to buy PG&E's power grid and other infrastructure in the city for $2.5 billion. The deal doesn't include the utility's natural gas system, but Mayor London Breed said they believe this deal will offer financial stability to PG&E. The company is facing billions of dollars in claims over wildfires that were reportedly started by its equipment. PG&E has filed a proposal for a $17.9 billion bankruptcy exit plan with a federal court. Although in a statement, the utility said selling assets to San Francisco would not be in the best interest of the company.
In your Ag Report, the U.S. Department of Agriculture is announcing that starting tomorrow, they'll be offering resources and benefits for farmers affected by disasters since 2018. Those disasters include last year's wildfires, hurricanes, and even those farmers facing the effects of Hurricane Dorian right now. Starting tomorrow, farmers can apply for assistance under the Wildlife and Hurricane Indemnity Program. In addition, the program will cover losses for milk dumped or removed from the commercial market and losses of farm commodities from 2018 through this year. To apply for assistance, just visit farmers.gov.
The California Milk Advisory Board has just released a report on the dairy industry's contribution to the state's economy in 2018. According to that report, the industry remains the single largest producer of milk and processed dairy products in the country, making up to close to 20% of all U.S. milk production. Most of the milk produced in California is also processed here, then shipped globally in various forms. In addition, the report states that in 2018, about 180,000 jobs in the state were related to the dairy industry. In the San Joaquin Valley, the dairy industry contributed close to $12 billion to the regional economy with nearly 129,000 jobs. In all, milk production resulted in more than $20 billion pumped into the state's coffers last year.
In other ag news, a California-based avocado producer is leading the industry with record-setting sales this quarter. Calavo growers based out of Santa Paula hit a record $359 million in their third quarter revenues. This is about 21% of their sales from last year. According to the company's CEO, Lee Cole, Calavo's expertise in avocado sourcing, production, and sales management is thanks to the company's performance and high sales. He also says the company anticipates an increase in gross profits to exceed 50% for the full year.
49er fans may go to Levis Stadium in Santa Clara for the games, but now they can stay a little bit for the produce. Check it out. The stadium is now home to stalks of corn, strawberries, tomato vines, and other vegetables. It's all thanks to Laura Hermanson and Matt Sandoval of Farmscape. They teamed up with the Niners to create what is now known as the Faithful Farm on top of the stadium. There it is. The quarter-acre farm is dedicated to helping the building achieve some of its goals for sustainability. The farm is sustained by a team of 3 full-time farmers who spend 40 hours a week planting and harvesting. They say the farm produces about 10,000 pounds of produce, flowers, and herbs, most of which end up in the stadium's restaurants. Interesting. All right.
You said it's only a quarter acre?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're producing a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very cool. All right. So here at home, we're going to be literally cool today. We have fresh ocean air coming on shore. Systems are tracking to our north, and that leaves us breezy here in the valley, downright windy in our mountains and deserts, especially later today. Wind advisory is in effect. And with that, you see we're at 67 right now in Bakersfield, 40s up in Breckenridge, Bear Valley Springs, Pine Mountain Club, 50s for Tehachapi, Lebec, and Wilford Heights, even several 50s down into our desert locations. So as we climb into later today, temperatures are about 10 degrees below average. We get those low 80s for many locations here on the valley floor today. 78 at the base of the Grapevine and 70s up into the Kern River Valley. Most of Tehachapi's day is spent only in those breezy 60s. Fraser Park topping out at 68 this afternoon, so it's sweater weather all day for the kids heading out the door to school. Down into our desert, some 80s out there, and we'll talk about the threat of blowing dust with these winds coming up.
Coming up next, a mosquito-borne disease taking 3 lives for the first time in over a decade, how experts are responding, and the warning they're issuing to the public.
And how many times a week should you take a nap? And now let me add this, to help out your heart.
Oh.
The answer could surprise you. 4:40 on this Tuesday. You're watching 23 ABC.
Welcome back, 443, and not much to talk about in our traffic as far as incidents go, but you know about all of that construction. Let's take a tour of a couple of the projects. If you haven't traveled down south or if you're coming out of Fraser Park, there is one lane of northbound 99 closed at the 5 for some construction, but the other lanes are still open. We also have several areas of construction here at the 99 and Sandrini, so keep that in mind if you travel there. Copus Road and David Road are good detours instead. And also they're still working on the 43 Enos Lane near Stockdale Highway as they create that big roundabout.
In health news, the measles outbreak in the United States continues to grow. The number of cases reached more than 1,200. That's according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. That is 7 cases more than last week. Cases have been confirmed in 31 states, and the CDC says most are among people who were not vaccinated against measles. It also reported more than 75% of measles cases were linked to outbreaks in New York State and New York City.
A mosquito-borne virus known as Triple E has killed at least 3 people in 3 states. Massachusetts first reported its death in late August. On Friday, Michigan reported one. Now, Rhode Island is reporting the death of a person in their 50s. There's usually only about 5 to 10 human cases reported in the U.S. every year, according to health officials. But this year, Massachusetts alone is reporting at least 7 cases.
Triple E is a serious disease, and our hearts go out to the family and friends of everyone impacted by the disease.
The infection, encephalitis, causes swelling of the brain. About 30% of people infected with it die, and many who survive have ongoing neurological problems. There is no vaccine or specific antiviral treatment for Triple E.
Today marks a serious day of awareness, a day focused on what's now the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S. The International Association for Suicide Prevention organizes the observance along with the World Health Organization. Experts say some ways to prevent suicide include reducing access to firearms and medications, early care for the mentally ill, school-based interventions, and training health workers to assess and manage suicidal behavior can help too. A traditional part of this annual observance is to light a candle near a window at 8 p.m.
The American Medical Association now wants everyone to stop using e-cigarettes. The urgent guidance comes after hundreds of cases of severe lung illnesses and 5 deaths. The AMA is also calling on the FDA to fast-track e-cig regulations, get unregulated products off the market, and ban flavored products and marketing to young people. Health departments report widespread use of cannabis vaping, which may be behind the illnesses. Users should monitor themselves for any symptoms like coughing, chest pain, vomiting, and a fever.
The number of pregnant women with high blood pressure has soared over the past few decades, according to a new study. The study says that between 1970 and 2010, high blood pressure in pregnant women has increased on average by 6% each year in the United States. The study suggests the rise in women waiting until they're older to have children may be connected to the increase in high blood pressure, which is the leading cause of maternal death in the U.S. Researchers studied CDC records on more than 151 million women between the ages of 15 to 49 who gave birth in a hospital over 4 decades.
New evidence is showing that daytime napping is actually heart healthy. But like all good things, it's best in moderation. A new study indicates that daytime naps, or those power naps, are linked to a lower risk of heart attack or stroke, but only if they're limited to a few times a week. The research published in the journal Heart was based on data collected from 3,500 people in Switzerland. According to the research, the sweet spot for weekly napping is 1 to 2 times a week.
That's
1 or
perfect.
2. There you go.
If you're intimidated by intense workouts, you don't have to be a regular at the gym to benefit from exercise.
Oh, that's right. With more on that, here's ABC's Inez de la Quintero with more.
People often feel overwhelmed by the idea of exercising regularly. They may have busy schedules, burdensome responsibilities, or just not enough time for themselves. If that's you, you will want to hear about this study. Researchers at the National Institute of Health and the Leicester Biomedical Research Center in England found that even moving and exercising a little can help you live longer. They studied over 36,000 adults in their 40s to 60s. By tracking their movements with wearable accelerometer devices for almost 6 years, they were able to figure out the ideal amount of exercise for different intensities to reduce the chances of dying earlier. Curious to know the answer? The researchers state that while any amount of physical activity led to a lower risk of death, 24 minutes of brisk walking or 5 hours of light activity